What is a lesson you only had to learn once? What's the story behind it? Hey yo, it's Ask Rick channel. As a toddler, I wouldn't stop trying to lick electric plugs. My mom was so exhausted of preventing me from touching the plugs, she just stopped doing it. I managed to lick a plug, never ever tried it again. When I first started a job where I had real responsibility, I learned the importance of having written evidence. I was leading a project and needed approval for a $50. Zero purchase still above my pay grade at this time. The timing was tight and needed to give the okay within a few hours. I got a verbal, of course, that is okay. Hurry and finish it, from my boss. Well, it turns out my boss's boss did not like it. So my boss denied the fact he gave me the go-ahead. My company proceeded to drag their feet to pay the $50. Zero bill, and I got cursed at by the contracting company and my boss's boss because my boss threw me under the bus. I have since learned to get written approval for everything, even if it sets the project behind. I also learned most people in the professional world will do whatever they need to do to shift the blame. When you're having a problem with a coworker, whoever presents their story to management first almost always comes out on top. Which is such. Whoever shouts first is often the guilty one, but that's never how it's treated. No matter how much you hate loneliness, it's better to be alone than to be in a bad relationship. I feel this deep in my soul. Never lend anything to your older brother's friends. Case in point, I let him borrow my Coolwood baseball bat. After waiting 3 months to get it back, I get it returned split in half. My older sister had a friend when I was a kid. They let her borrow my Spryo, Riptos Rage. Didn't get it back for months, and when we did, it came back without the case and so scratched up the system couldn't read it. I cried my eyes out and Dad had to go and buy a new one. I don't think she was allowed to borrow anything again after that. See why cover you're at work. Being the new person sucks at an office. And insisting on proper treatment can feel like a mistake, but it's so worthwhile. Started working at an office with very little in written expectations, processes, or training. Red flags were everywhere, but I was a newbie in the field and really needed a job. So I missed some red flags and ignored others. One thing that I absolutely got right by accident was a hardcore CIA program. I wrote down everything during training thinking I would train the next person better. I wrote down everything I was asked to do, trying to keep organized and not miss any assignment or task. I kept a copy of all of this on my Google Calendar, Google Docs. After I left, I found out my boss was blaming me for a number of misses that were demonstrably not my fault. I ended up having to sue, and thank God I had a record to back me up. Funny how quickly asking someone, "Can I get that in writing?" can change their whole attitude. 100%. I'm a truck driver and the managers in the dispatch office always call and try to get me to do something illegal like take a load that's overweight or drive over my hours. And every time the conversation goes like this: "Office, need you to do this, insert illegal request here job for us." Me, can't do that. Sorry, it's my license on the line and I'm not willing to risk it. Office, no, you're fine to do it. I've asked and you're within the law. Me, okay, I'll do it as long as you email the request to me telling me I have to do it and the office takes responsibility. Office, don't worry about it. We'll sort it somehow. They back down every single time. They always pull this trying to push the boundaries of the law, so we have to be clued up. If we get caught, they'll deny responsibility and say we know the law and shouldn't have taken on the job. Always cover your. This is why I prefer email over phone or in-person conversations. It's so nice having a written record. Saw some pictures of smokers' lungs in a textbook at school. Decided not to smoke for the rest of my life that day. I saw what happened to my grandparents as a result of smoking. Would never dream of it now. Both of my parents were smokers their entire lives, basically. Dad wasn't a pack-a-day kind of guy for years and years. He is currently battling stage 4 lung cancer, and it's just a matter of time before it takes him. My mom was just diagnosed with stage 1 lung cancer a couple of weeks ago. Hopefully surgery will save her. They are both in their early 60s. Don't smoke, kids. Last month I heated an egg in the microwave for a few minutes, trying to hard boil it. If my head was 12 inches to the right when the microwave exploded open and shot glass everywhere, I would be dead right now. Scary stuff at it. I hope I'm saving eggs and lives with this information. Don't touch your wang after cutting chilies, even if you think you washed your hands thoroughly. Story is that I touched my wang after cutting chilies, but I thought I had washed my hands thoroughly. If you learn this lesson for yourself, know that soap doesn't help, olive doesn't help, crying doesn't help. The only relief I found was lime juice. I think the acid must cut the capsaicin so you can actually rinse it off. Not to be stupid with water guns. I was on holiday with my family and I was about 13 and my dad had bought 2 water guns that worked by you pulling it back as it suctioned the water up. I, being a dumb idiot, decided to suction my lip and it pinged back and cut my lip open. Had to go to hospital abroad and get stitches. Remember, the water gun is always loaded and never pointed at anything you don't want to get wet. A good lawyer knows the law. A great lawyer knows the judge. Don't pick up bricks in the warm summer afternoon in the desert. There be roaches. Not to cheat in relationships. I mean, I already knew to do it at a young age. But seeing how it utterly destroyed my mom really drove it into my brain. Yeah, my dad has cheated on my mom a few times. The worst was when I was 16. Seeing what she went through did a lot to me, but definitely confirmed that cheaters are awful. Self-deprecating humor is a great strategy in regular interactions and social situation to become more relatable and charismatic too. Don't overdo it, but if you show you can play a little about yourself, it can exude self-confidence. Keep your mouth shut when dealing with the police. Story: got arrested over a bacon sandwich. Steaming, walking home with a couple of friends. We'd gotten into the habit of going back to my house at the end of the night and making monster bacon sandwiches, instead of getting dodgy takeaway. Walked past a parked police car at the exact moment I drunkenly and thus loudly proclaimed I could murder a bacon sandwich. Police officer jumped out and confronted me. He thought I was obliquely calling him a pig. I hadn't even seen the police car there. We argued. My contention was that I wanted a bacon sandwich, and he couldn't arrest me even if I had called him a pig to his face. His contention was that he could arrest me, and he did. A night in the cells ensued. Got a police-issue bacon sandwich in the morning though, so I won in the end. Use a couple of forms of birth control always. I became a dad when I was at high school still, and I don't regret it or require a time machine, but I also don't recommend it for other 16 to 18-year-olds. Never lend money. Got an inheritance years ago, whilst with my now ex-girlfriend. She had a big credit card bill from living by herself. I suggested I pay it. She pay me back in installments, stops me spending and saves her on interest. I then decided I want to do some traveling, encourage her to come interrailing with me. She doesn't want to, so I go for a month around Europe. She slowly stopped replying to texts, had it out with her one day whilst in Lake bled over text. She felt I'd abandoned her, etc. Basically, we broke up there and then. Still agreed she'd pay me back once she got herself set up in new place. 5 years later and I've got nothing. She accused me of cheating whilst I was away. Changed phone. For pounds I'll never get back. Don't trust your friends' friends no matter how close they are with each other. My friend's friend was giving me a ride home to my boyfriend at 3 a.m. after we all hung out and it ended. Up with him trying to force me to give him a hug and go to his house. I didn't want to give him a hug or go to his house because I felt uncomfortable doing so, and that triggered him to get aggressive with me. I did absolutely nothing to make him think I would ever do anything with him. I have a boyfriend that I love very much, which was something he knew. He threw my phone out the window, took my glasses off my face, kicked me out of his car, and left me in a city that was unfamiliar to me. But not before going all apeshit, smacking me around, keeping me locked in his car for over an hour, speeding past stop signs, yelling at me and cussing me out. Shittiest experience I've had this year. That idiot can even deny someone a hug without being afraid they might go crazy on me. Not too with soap as a lubricant. Tried it as a young teen. It hurt. The end. Never let a girl I'm not in a serious relationship with borrow my car. Car came back with a big scratch and she denied everything. That you need to seize opportunities when they present themselves. I was about 18 to 19 at the time 2008-9 at college, finishing up my freshman year first semester. I had basically used that entire semester to round, getting drunk day in and day out, skipping out on classes and so forth. I had earned a sizable scholarship, with the caveat of maintain a certain GPS, ended up getting a 2. 1 GPA and LW out of 2 classes and failing a 3rd. I vividly remember finishing up the semester, about to go back home and thinking about telling my mother the news and that my scholarship was at risk. I'm the first one of our family and extended family to actually pursue higher education and get this great opportunity to change my life. I was wasting it and I was a failure. I used that feeling of shame as fuel as I changed the setting I was in. The people I was hanging out with were the worst and didn't care about future goals. As a black man, I didn't want to end up another statistic, and so I made sure to not let that happen. Finished the next semester with a 4.0 GPA and finished college with 3.3. Graduated with a B.S. in electrical and computer engineering. Upon starting my job, I got an opportunity to get them to pay for my master's. While working full-time, I got a M.A. in electrical and computer engineering. Still working full-time, I got them to partially pay for my MBA, finalized in May 2019. Almost failed out of college my first freshman semester in 2008. Turned it around and now 11 years later I am 3 degrees DPS, me, MBA. Never believe a woman when they say they're not hungry. My friend did just that and said she was not hungry, and the minute I got food from a restaurant, she took it. Getting married. The amount of paperwork, money spent, and heartbreak to get divorced means I would never ever consider doing it again. Have happily been and still am in a long-term relationship since. And one of the first discussions we ever had was centered around this. Got taken to jail youth detention at 15 for failing to appear on a traffic ticket for not wearing a helmet on a motorcycle. Took me in, stripped me down, put on jail white shirt, pants, socks, and placed in a concrete room 6x4 with nothing but a slab to rest on. Stayed bored out of my skull for 4 entire hours before jailer opened the door to say my dad was here to bail me out. I first thought was to please shut that door and make sure it's locked tight, please. Anyway, Dad didn't say anything except, I got you out this time, I won't do it again. Got it. I got it. Never been back. I used to be a police officer. One time I came across a guy with a Coke bottle filled with yellow liquid. What's in the bottle? I ask. He responds, yeah right, give it here. I take a big whiff. Absolutely sure I'm about to write an open container ticket because surely it's beer. Nope, it was. If someone tells you a bottle is full of, just take them at their word. Do not smell for yourself. Don't pee on an electric fence. Thanks for watching. Share your stories in the comments.